And we'll begin this hour with the growing questions surrounding the White House's decision to shoot down 3 more unidentified flying objects over the weekend, less than a week after the U.S. military brought down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina. The skies were active again. On Friday, President Joe Biden ordered the military to shoot down an object flying near the northern coast of Alaska at around 40,000 feet, according to the NSC spokesperson John Kirby. The object was roughly the size of a small car and was flying low enough that it posed a threat to civilian flights. On Saturday, at the request of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, U.S. fighter jets shot down another object, which was small and cylindrical, flying over the country's Yukon territory. And later on Saturday, U.S. aircraft were sent to Montana to investigate an anomaly picked up on radar, but according to the Defense Department, they were unable to find the source. Officials say the radar blip reemerged overnight on Saturday, and after floating over Lake Huron near Michigan, President Biden made the call to bring it down. It was described as an octagonal structure with strings hanging off of it with no discernible payload. This is so weird.
That is bizarre.
This morning, China said more than 10 U.S. high-altitude balloons, this is according to China, have flown in its airspace during the past year without its permission. Earlier on Morning Joe, we asked Admiral John Kirby about that accusation.
I want to get your reaction to some breaking news out of Beijing just in the last hour or two. The foreign ministry there has accused the United States since the start of 2022 of flying balloons 10 different times over Chinese airspace. Can you respond to that accusation?
Not true. Not doing it. Just absolutely not true.
That is his exact quote. We are not flying balloons over China.
Yeah, probably he never expected he'd be saying that. Joining us now from the Pentagon, NBC News national security and global affairs reporter Dan DeLuce. Also with us is retired 4-star Army General Barry McCaffrey. He's an NBC News military analyst. And Dan, I'll start with you and just ask if you have any more reporting to add to what I've already said about several objects now and whether or not they're all connected.
Well, we don't know. That is the really frustrating answer. But I think there was some interesting details that came out over the weekend. They're saying at NORAD that they have sort of opened the aperture on how they read the radar data that comes in. So in the past, where they would have maybe filtered out and ignored some of the smaller or slower objects out there, they're now looking at those. Now, the question is, are there more than there were before? Or were these always there and they were always present and we ignored them? There's huge questions here. And at the briefing last night with the Northern Command chief, he was asked, can you tell us what these are? Are they balloons? And he wasn't even ready to characterize these 3 objects that were shot down in the past few days. So a huge kind of uncertainty here about what we're dealing with. And keep in mind, there's nobody is saying, there's no evidence that these objects were armed somehow or that North America was under attack. And also, there is a total plausible scenario where these are relatively mundane objects, perhaps research type of systems that are gathering data and are not nefarious. So just a huge amount of uncertainty here, and it is frustrating to try to figure out what's going on.
A lot of questions right now. General McCaffrey, as always, thank you so much for being with us. I'm curious, first of all, what's chief among your concerns from these reports that we've gotten over the weekend, these 4 objects shot down? And secondly, if you were advising the president, what would you be telling him right now?
Well, I think the important part of this story is clearly that we have now brought into focus, and the American people are aware that the Chinese have been running a global intelligence collection strategy using balloons. And I think that there are probably aspects of this that DOD did understand. A balloon came down near Hawaii. Taiwan identified balloons over the island several times. In retrospect, they discovered 4 earlier incursions in the United States earlier this year. So we're going to have to take into account a new intelligence threat from the Chinese They've got 260 satellites collecting on us. They have an active cyber intrusion program. They have a healthy, robust human intelligence collection program. And now we've got to sort out what to do about these balloons, which do have persistent latency eyes on target. And we're going to have to do something about it. So I think NORAD, I've been there a dozen times over the year, very sophisticated, very capable. They primarily look for incoming ICBM missiles and high-performance aircraft. Now they're going to have to sort out balloon technology.
Hey, Dan, it's Jonathan. It seems to me that perhaps the Pentagon knows a little bit more about these objects than they're letting on. After all, the assessment was made by fighter pilots approaching them each time that they were unmanned. They weren't going to shoot something out of the sky, that they had a person in it. So knowing that, the Pentagon is saying, though, they want to reserve judgment until they recover more of the debris. Have they offered any sort of timeline as to when these new 3 objects, when they should be able to retrieve what they shot down? I know winter weather poses a challenge.
Unfortunately, they can't even give us a timeline. And believe me, we are all asking here. I mean, what's true is, and especially in that one on Friday, on the off the northern coast of Alaska, we're talking 30 below or colder. There's snow, there's ice. That is not an easy task. So we don't know how fast that will happen. Northern Canada, the object there, that's also cold. And God knows it's not very warm in Michigan right now. But what is key here is recovering what has been shot down and analyzing it and seeing if there's a connection, if there are patterns. And it's interesting, no institution or research organization or private company has come forward publicly and said that could be ours. And that would be interesting if that happened, but that has not happened. And back to what the general was saying, he's making a really interesting, important point here, which is it's almost like a little bit like after 9/11, where you change what you're looking for. And this whole radar air defense system was set up to track incoming missiles or bombers and so on. Now we're going to be looking at these smaller, slower objects. And I think it's going to take a while for the system to adjust. And I don't think there's a policy yet about how to handle it. And so each one is being handled on a case-by-case basis. And I'm not sure that's tenable.